Hello, my friends! My name is Tartarus, and welcome to a new series I'm starting on the channel. Before we get into this crispy goodness of this new series, I want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. I know it's a day before Thanksgiving, but I wanted to come out on Thanksgiving, but I'm going to be busy. So try your best not to get fat, and if you do, well, I feel your pain. Just make sure to burn it off in the next couple months, right? But anyway, back to this new video. This is the beginning of a new series I'm going to start calling Unheard Legends, where I am going to dive deep into historical and mythical research and talk to you guys about it specifically. So, for our first episode, we're going to dive deep into the time of Western outlaws, as you can see with the red dead in the background. A time where just looking at someone wrong could get you killed. I'm just kidding. That's an urban legend. There were lawmen and bounty hunters back then, so if you ever decide to go back in time, don't randomly shoot somebody in the face. It's not going to go very well for you. So today we're going to be talking about one of the most famous Western outlaws to this date, and no, it is not Jesse James. Today I'm going to be telling you about Robert Leroy Parker. A lot of you guys don't know him. More commonly, he is known as Butch Cassidy. So we're going to start right into early childhood, and we're going to go from there. So, Robert Parker, he was born on April 13th, 1866, in Beaver, Utah. His parents were both immigrants from England who moved to America in about 1856, in which they had 13 kids. Their firstborn being Robert Parker. A little side note of research, Robert Parker actually grew up Mormon, but he really never took the religion that seriously. So just fun fact there. So not much is really known about Robert's early childhood, but he did have a life before becoming a famous outlaw. So back in his teenage times, before his illegal acts, he actually worked a butchery job in Wyoming in his early teenage years. And the people that worked with him there gave him the nickname Butch, and that's what kind of stuck with him. So that's where his first half of his nickname goes, and called Butch. So, while he worked for this butchery shop, this is where he had his first run-in with the law. And it's nothing you'd actually expect. He actually just stole a pair of jeans from a closed shop, and he actually left a note promising to pay for them later. But it didn't work out so well. He got into a bit of trouble for that, but it doesn't really explain how. So, following this, the Parker family actually ran into a really bad spot with some debt and stuff, and they lost a lot of land, which actually caused Parker to go and work for a local and shady rancher named Mike Cassidy. Now, you know where this is going, but don't jump me to this part, okay? This, because of Mike Cassidy, was like a mentor and a second father to him. This is how he adopted his full name, known as Butch Cassidy, from his previous mentor, and that's what he went with all the way up until 1908, but we'll get there. So, now we're going to get into the actual life that made him an outlaw, the life of Butch Cassidy. So, his first major crime was actually committed June 24th, 1889, in which he and a group of 3 cowboys robbed San Miguel Bank in Telluride, Colorado. If you guys know where that is. So, Butch and his group actually made off with $20,000, which, guys, is a lot. If we convert this, because remember, inflation is a big thing here. If we convert this to money from a 2017 scale, it is equivalent to $580,000 in 2017 currency. Probably a little bit more now since we're in 2018. So, to actually escape the law from here, Butch was the first person to lay low in the Outlaw Trail, which I'll have a map for you guys up here. It's actually a ghost trail that begins in Mexico and ended in Montana that actually still to this day contains marked locations of camps that Butch hid in to avoid the law in his early outlaw days. It contains a bunch of farmers and ranchers on the path that basically stowed away Callaway for a while. So that's what really helped him out. In fact, these farmers and ranchers actually saw him more as a Robin Hood figure and not some deadly outlaw, the whole giving to the poor, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor kind of vibe. That's what a lot of these smaller ranchers and farmers saw him as. Even though he never actually gave them any money, the only person he stole for was himself, but we're not going to go into that. We're just going to let the past think of its own heroes, okay? So, sometime after this robbery, he actually was captured and was transported to a Wyoming prison for a couple years, so he did really escape that well. So, but being encaged didn't stop Butch. Oh no. Being imprisoned actually gave him more incentive to become an even greater outlaw than he originally was before. After he was released, he proceeded to gather up a bunch of elite cowboys, which sounds pretty dumb, but back then, elite cowboys were pretty serious. If you guys know about cowboys, you know they know how to do a lot of hard work. Like, it's just imagine this big buff guy with bandanas and really good gun skills with revolvers, and there you go. You got your elites back then. It still doesn't sound intimidating, but just roll with it. So with these new elite cowboys, he formed a gang, one of the most notorious gangs back in the Western days, known as the Wild Bunch. Some of these included Dick Maxwell, Elzie Lay, and Harry Longebach. I know you probably guys don't know who that is, but we're going to dive a little bit into one of them, which is the last one, whose name is Harry. He was also known as the Sundance Kid, and he was one of Butch's closest friends. The reason for this is because Butch actually freed him from prison in around 1896. So you can see we've had a bit of a time skip here. So with this new gang, the Wild Bunch had their first claim to fame was a robbery of the Multiplier Bank on August 13th, 1896. I'll also show a map for where this is located as well. The gang made off with $7,000. Like I'm saying, guys, with the inflation, that's still a lot of money. It was roughly equivalent to $200,000 in today's currency. You could imagine what you could do with $200,000 back today. Like all the stuff you could buy, and without the advancement stuff back then, yeah, you could get a lot of stuff with $7,000 back then. So it's a pretty good score for his first heist, even though it is actually a low number. Considering that his first ever heist with the three other cowboys was $20,000, so it's pretty low. But after this, the Wild Bunch performed their own biggest heist, which is still actually pretty low. But the gang performed a heist at the Pleasant Valley Coal Company, and they made off with $8,000, which is just above $200,000. It's $230,000 on the 2017 scale. Now, don't ask me why a coal factory has more money than a bank. I don't know. I mean, I guess because industry reasons, but I really don't know, guys. And the story behind it is actually kind of funny. Usually you think you have to heist the whole building, but no, all Butch really had to do was put a revolver to the paymaster, and yeah, GG, easy money. They got the money, and they were just poof, they were gone. See, the thing about Butch Cassidy is he was very smart. He was one of the actually smartest outlaws to this date. He planned out everything. He was the most detailed planned outlaw, and this actually proved it, how he escaped without the law even practically knowing he was there, until him and his gang were already miles away. Like, he was really smart when it came to his escapes and his robberies. So, but yeah, they were just gone. Poof, it was like magic. So afterwards, to just summarize everything, there's not really locations named, but the gang proceeded to go on a robbing spree throughout 4 individual states in Western America, which was South Dakota, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Nevada. They traveled down all that way, robbing banks, trains, and actually had a total sum of $70,000. And today's currency, that is a little over $2 million. That's like no joke. Like that's more than his original. And just imagine what you guys could do with $2 million today. And imagine all this stuff you could buy. I know this is like different time periods, but still, just it's a lot of money, guys. You know, a lot of people don't realize how much this money is, but it's quite a bit. You know how much I would give to get $2 million? Even though that sentence is kind of contradictory, but yeah, I mean. However, this robbing spree was actually, sadly, for the Outlaws' point of view, was their last number of scores before times sort of turned. And it was hitting roughly about the early 1900s, and the days of outlaws are coming to an end. The 1900s is when Western outlaws became less and less relevant. And everywhere that Butch Cassidy would turn through his actions, he would run into Pinkertons. Now, if you guys don't know what Pinkertons are, think about it this way. The Pinkertons were sort of like the FBI for the early 1900s. They were the ones that were in charge of hunting down national criminals. They were the big honchos. So FBI, not quite CIA level, but think about the FBI for the early 1900s, sort of Western FBI. So now this is where Butch kind of goes off on his own, because sadly the Wild Bunch was disbanded in 1902. All the members either moved on to hide or were killed off by Pinkertons, except for one, and that was Harry. Harry's the one that stayed with him. Butch and Harry were alone. That's because Harry, who's also, again, the Sundance Kid, he was best friend. They were best friends ever since he freed him from prison. He would never leave him. Sort of like the second in command of the gang. That's who the Sundance Kid was. That's who Harry was. So, with the pressure of these Pinkertons, Butch, Harry, which is also the Sundance Kid, if I'm just reminding you guys, and his girlfriend Etta actually moved to Argentina, where they bought a ranch to live on. They fled America to come to Argentina. That's how persistent the Pinkertons were. The Pinkertons were no joke. Just so you guys know. I know the name sounds derpy, but a lot of outlaws were scared of them. They were responsible for why most of the gangs back in the Western time actually died. So it's actually kind of funny. They bought a ranch. So now you think that he could deserve a break after being on the run for Pinkertons for so long, but the peace didn't last very long at all. Actually, a former deputy from Wyoming informed the Pinkertons of Butch's location, which is kind of ironic because this Wyoming guy wasn't actually looking for him. He was actually on vacation to Argentina, an interesting place to go to vacation, and he found Butch and reported him back to the Pinkertons, who eventually found him, hunted him down. The result for this, Butch went on the run. He actually went on robbing banks a little bit afterwards. These banks weren't known, though. They weren't really specified. But Butch went on robbing banks until he was supposedly killed in 1908. But this is not where the Western legend ends, actually. So he didn't actually die in 1908. After Argentina, he actually made a trip back to Europe. But he actually returned to America really shortly afterwards. He didn't stay in Europe that long. On his way back, he did abandon the name Butch Cassidy and became William Phillips. That was his new name to sort of avoid the outlaw's piece of work and join modern society. So shortly after his arrival, he actually did fall in love with a woman named Gertrude Livesey, and they actually did eventually get married on May 10th, 1908. Now, that's a very quick time, I know, but actually back then it was quite normal. So if there's any of you guys freaking out right now because they married like in a week or so, it was actually very common. So yeah, just keep that in mind. They then moved to Arizona, in which Butch actually tried out the civil life, and he did make a pretty good name for himself. He actually was the founder of the Phillips Manufacturing Company. Sadly, it did bankrupt, and yeah, the business didn't turn out. Butch tried his best to provide by going back to actually Wyoming, the place where he was most wanted at. His face would, like, anyone could shoot him and get money from it, to look for hidden caches that he previously owned to try to get any money. So, sadly, the end of his life was actually, it wasn't for gunshots. He wasn't killed by police or anything. He actually died in July 20th, 1937 for cancer. He had passed away from cancer. So, who would think that one of the most famous Western outlaws would actually have a happy ending? But he did. He lived very peacefully up until the end of his life, if you consider being a little hesitant for money, peaceful, but he had a wife who probably didn't know much about him, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, one of the most legendary outlaws, Butch Cassidy, had a peaceful end. I mean, I know cancer isn't considered peaceful, but it's better than getting shot in the face by a Pinkerton, or aka an FBI agent, cop, whatever you want. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the story of the legendary Butch Cassidy. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I did a lot of research on this video, so I really enjoyed this. This is actually a really nice video that I enjoy doing. So if there's anything I left out about Butch Cassidy that you guys would like to inform people, please inform in the comments down below. I will comment to anyone I comment to everybody anyway, or at least I try. But if there is anything I did miss out on, please do not hesitate to add that down in the comments. But yeah, anyway guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and if the next person, if there is a legend or a certain time in history you want me to cover, comment it down below, and I will do my best to find info on the person or the time period of someone in the time period, and we can go from there. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next video.